download it just like you did. These are revised spreads only as spreads. Make sure that you look at your PDFs before you submit them. Oh boy, how is everyone? Okay. Mallory, Madeline,
Here.
Kaylee,
She won't be here.
Lexi, Tony, Colby, Tom, Zuri, Kavarian, Sebastian, Isu, and Maine. Good. All right. So yes. Okay. Heavy class today. I'm gonna go over some critical stuff for you. But first, let me talk to you about your final leg of the book in terms of this first phase. So at this point, you should have a minimum of 2 different InDesign files. The first InDesign file should be your cover design files, correct? Because you design covers and you set up the page size, and so you may have lots or several different files or several different attempts for cover. Yes? Okay. The second round should be your spreads as a separate InDesign file, correct? And this is where you made your spreads. As a matter of fact, one of the things that I would have suggested is and I'm going to push this concept for now on as a process, very important, is the presentation, the file you made that you presented on Tuesday, right? I would keep this as a record and then do a save as, and then call this round 2. So now you have 2 different files of spreads and you're resaving them. So keeping generations of old versions of your files is very important. And the reason why is because if you're only working from one file and you're writing over it, what if I say, you know what, I like that one design you had way back here, I changed it, I don't have, so you always have. And I went over this when you were in Color and Tech talking about, saving different variations of Photoshop files so that you could always go back and you don't have to override the project, okay? So you want to make you can make as many versions, cover A, cover B, and so on, and still keep them properly archived in case you need to go back. So now we're going to talk about round 3. And so ultimately, round 3 has got to be the book. The book is going to be 8 pages, which means page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, page 8. Okay? So the book, now what this column 1 has in common with column 2 is they're all the same trim size, correct? Right? Okay. So I could either take from column 2 and do a save as and save it as a new version of the book, correct? Okay. So you're going to have a new version of the book, and I'm going to call this new. And what it's going to do is you're going to go over here and you're going to pull your cover that you're going to work with, pull that one page and put it on your book, page 1. Get your spreads that you have revised and put your spreads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So far so good? And now we're going to talk about page 8. You're going to design your final page. Now, as I said before, once you have a photo from a folder, that folder is now closed. You are no longer able to use any of the photos in that folder. And so you have another folder here, another photo from another folder, another photo from another folder. So at this stage, you should have already absorbed or used 7 folders, and you have put them to bed. And now you have 1 folder of photos left. Is that correct? Are we there? Okay. So from that folder, we're going to find 1 photograph and we're going to place it on our final cover. Now the page is going to be a combination of typography and a photograph. So we're gonna start where we began with our cover. We started with information typography of the title, the hierarchy, and your credit, correct? Now the page 8 has got to now be a photo from your final folder. And then the information, I need 3 categories of information. It's actually going to serve as it's almost going to be like a table of contents, but we're not calling it table of contents because a table of contents is something that goes up in the front of the book. We're listing all of the relevant information about our pages on the back, okay? So what I need you to do is identify what is the word, which is sexy and industrial. What are the words? And then I need you to also list what is the photo detail of. So it would be word is sexy, my dog's tongue or dog tongue, right? And then, and way before that, I need you to identify the page. And the page number and the way you're going to list page is going to be really important. So the way you're going to list your pages is page 1 is going to be called cover, and then page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, and back cover. Okay? And then, like I said, you're going to you could list the word first or the detail first, okay? And it all has to be in 1 text box, and it has to fit in that photograph. It has to have a logical place for it. Let me reiterate, and I'm going to give you an automatic 0 if anybody dares center text on anything. You know how I feel about centered text. If you dare give me centered text, I am not even going to look at it. I'm going to give you a 0. Okay? So now you have to think about how do and I also taught you how to set tabs too, right? So you can't do cover ... spacebar, 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 letter. You have to set tabs. And you have to fit all of that information in 1 text box, size it, color it, let it, give it space between, and it has to fit married in that photograph. Okay? So in the photograph, you're actually looking for real estate space that could accommodate typography, all while trying to find eye candy. Okay? Clear? Any questions?
You said only 1 text box for all of that information?
Because there's no need for you to say cover, text box, and then after page 2 and page, that would be stupid. When you could make 1 text box and type in the information and then select it all and let it, select it all and tab it and select it all and size it and color it and all that stuff, right? Logic. Questions? Yes.
can our typeface match the cover?
That's a very good question. As a matter of fact, the other question you're probably going to ask is, well, how should that photograph, should it relate to the cover? You know, and sometimes, you know, I see students where they use a photograph, it's so beautiful, I want to focus, it's better than the cover, you know? So how do you finish a book? How do you finish the narrative? And in this case, the content is like, okay, introduction, beautiful cover, eye candy, details, designed by, for when, ooh, it spread, ooh, spread, ooh, spread, the end. How do you end it? So that's a visual story. And the thing is that, you know, unlike the spreads where you've got two pictures that are interacting, the reality is with the book, you've got somebody looking at the cover and then eventually going to the back cover. So does it have to match? Does it have to match in color? Does it have to match in font? Does it have to match in theme? Or can it stand independent? These are all design questions that you need to ask, okay? I don't know if you remember, but the dance book that I showed you was very dark and there was just some blue, but it was a quiet ending to a very active beginning, okay? So it's a visual narrative that you are doing, okay? Yes, sir?
So the details on the back cover, is that the only details you want on there? Like the only type you want on there?
Yes, sir. What other kind of type would there be?
Like I know some magazines would probably put the title of the
Yeah, well, you know, this is again another design decision needs to be made. Like, how much information do you put on there? You know, especially if you're going to tab it. So do you want to have page 3? This was a picture of my dog when he was sitting in the blah, 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 full paragraph, and then word, and then page, you see where I'm going? Or do you want to go, shoot, page 3, dog tongue, you know, sexy. It's up to you. So you're the copywriter in this too, and this is where an editor and a copywriter go back and forth, but the editor will say, oh no, I want, 200 words on this back cover, and I don't care if the book is make it fit. And you're gonna go, okay, as a designer, I'm gonna make it like 6-point type because that's the only way it's really gonna fit. And there becomes this dialogue, and finally the editor says, let me cut down the text. So you're playing the editor and the designer. It is your control. Yes?
Would you prefer for us to include the word or the description first?
It's up to you. Design decision. Totally up to you. I need 3 things. Oh, by the way, do not write page. Do not do that. I don't need repetition. I don't want repetition. I want the information to be concise. I want the information to be logical, and I want to be able to be as streamlined with the information as I can. Repeating the word page is just taking up space that we don't need. And as the editor-in-chief, I'm saying, please omit that. Just keep the format as cover, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, back cover. Okay? What else? Anything else? Okay. Consider this your test. The final part of this, because you're not going to submit this. I'm not going to see this until the entire book gets produced, okay? And until you turn it in. So it's really going to be up to you and how you resolve this. Yes?
Can we post on Facebook?
For each other to talk about? Absolutely. But I won't respond, okay? I'll try not to respond unless something is so incredibly egregious. I can't keep my mouth shut. I have to say something, but it has to be incredibly egregious for me to be able to respond, okay? And I'm sure somebody will find something egregious to put on there that I have to respond. You'll probably just be doing it to piss me off, which is sometimes a good thing, right? What else? Okay. Are you ready for the next step? This is a lot, so I need you to pay attention, okay? Can I erase this? We're good? All right. Yes, first question.
No, no.
Yep. Okay, so if you remember, when you took your pictures, snap, and you downloaded it on your computer, right? What was the name of the photograph? It doesn't have to be exact, but what was it the name like? What did it sound like?
275.
Yeah, number, dot, what? JPEG, really? Yours came out as,
I think HEIC.
sorry?
HEIC.
HT something, yeah, HT, whatever, XYZ, or JPEG, you know, it really depends on the device, right? In any event, this is our raw photograph, meaning it came right out of the camera, and the number one rule is this is not work that can be, should be, go to a printer. And so now that we're finishing our book, now we have to start paying attention to industry standards. And now what we have to do is we have to format photography so that it actually accommodates a print production situation. Does that make sense? Okay? Now the reason why I didn't have you go through this process before had everything to do with that idea of playing and designing. Just grab and place and grab and place and move it around and not worry about having to get 200 photographs and format it when you're not even going to use it, okay? So we were just pulling out of the sky whatever we had in our drive, whatever we had in our folder. And I didn't want you to be concerned with the technicalities of formatting a photograph. Now that we have 90% of your book done, or the design of it, you know, there, we've made methodical decisions with compositions and how the photographs are going to be placed and how they're going to, where they're going to, and what's going to be selected. Now we have a total of 8 photographs that we have to properly format. Okay? So the raw image comes in with some big number and name. And again, that idea of save as or saving legacies is very important. Again, just like we did in color and tech, when you did, you know, save as grayscale crop, save as when we were doing our portraits. Remember that? Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up and let me actually. Somebody's absent, so I hope you guys are taking notes for this person because this is a lot of information that is going to be missed.
I'm recording it.
Oh, okay. You're a good egg. Hold on, let me zip your file. I didn't plan on doing this, but I might as well do it today. Okay, InDesign. I just need to find a file that has imagery on it. Oh, I'll do a short the squirrel book. Oh, I can't do short the squirrel because they're all illustrations. Sorry. Oh, there is no inventory. Oh, I actually have a book. Okay, art logic, small dossier. Art logic, small dossier. CAC. Now, here we go. Here's a book. Great. And INDD. All right. Good. Okay. So here is a book that I did. It did open. I'm just down here. Waiting for it to open. Here we go. Okay.
Wait, you designed the null book?
I did, yes.
Oh.
And this is the null book. Okay? And you know what? For the sake of what we're doing, I'm going to use this as an example. Pages. And by the way, again, InDesign, the book is 128 pages. Okay? So what I'm going to do, just for the sake of us, is I'm going to get rid of all the pages except for the first 8 pages. Okay? And I'm going to delete. Okay. Yeah. Come on. Okay, and then Command S, save. And I'm going to save it on the desktop. And because we're going to test this. Okay, so here I have 8 pages, and so I have my native folder, my native file. Here it is. Null book, and I'm gonna open it up, and there it is, 8 pages. And I'm gonna skip my fonts for now. Okay, so the pink means that the fonts are not loaded, but that's okay for now, we're just gonna leave it alone. And so, if you remember, in your situation, you and, by the way, you're seeing stuff that I'm telling you not to do. And I don't know why I did it that way, but it shouldn't be done. Do as I say, not as I do. Okay. So, you designed your book, and you designed from all these folders that are all the way over here. So here's your book, and the full book, right? And you have all these different iterations, and way over here you have all these 8 folders of photographs, right? And since you've been playing, there's one photo that's over here, and one photo that's over here, and one photo that's over here. And so everything's all over the place. And what we want to do is we want to save this file as the final book, and I'll call it Final Book A. And what I want to do is I want to make a folder so I have that file and I have all of the relevant links. So I don't have to go fishing in these folders anymore, and I don't want to have to go looking for them. And it's got this cockamamie name to it, and I want to make sure so I'm going to let the computer do it for me. And what the computer is going to do is I'm going to go to, and look at that centered type. Do as I say, not as I do, all right? Let me explain something to you. At this stage of your development, I don't want you to center text because I want you to explore space and negative space. When you graduate, center all you want, okay? When you graduate, use the word purple all you want. It's fine. You're not accountable to me. But while you're in training, I need you to adhere to these rules, okay? Good. So I have all these photographs, I have these 8 pages, I have this one InDesign file, and somewhere in the blogosphere, in my computer, I have all of these images. So what I'm going to ask it to do is I'm going to go up here to File, and I'm going to ask it to package this for me. And what a package is it will collect all of the fonts that I need. It will collect all of the links that I have in here, and it'll put it all nicely in one little folder. Watch this. So I'm going to click on this. I'm going to say package, and go on here, and I'm gonna call this principles folder, book. Actually, let me rephrase that. I'm gonna call it details A folder. And I'm going to save this new folder on the desktop and watch what it does. So I'm going to go to my desktop. And where is the principals folder? Where the hell is the principals folder? No.
You named it details
Details.
A.
I did name it details A.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you. Oh man, oh man. Okay, look what it did. It saved an InDesign file, it saved a links folder and a documents folder, which means if I open up that folder, it will have pulled only the photographs that are on those 8 pages. Okay? So you don't have to go fishing for those photos anymore. You could just do a package and it'll do that. Now, the reason why I'm having font issues with the book is I'm not using from the Adobe Font Library. I'm using my old fonts that I had, and they're no longer valid on the Adobe products. So that's why I'm having font issues. But, you know, because of that, it would have collected the fonts for me. In your case, you may not necessarily have a font folder because the fonts you're using are from the Adobe Creative Cloud, and all I have to do is activate your fonts and I could open it up and see it. Okay, so far so good? Does that make sense? Okay, so the reason why I want you to do this is because I need you to now make sure you have all 8 of your photos. And they're all in one folder, and you have a folder that you could now work from. Okay? Because what we have to do now is we have to prepare the links in our folder. Oops, that's the wrong one. Actually, yeah, that was the bigger folder, you know, that had all of the links, you know, the full 128 pages. Can you imagine having to go through all of this to find 8 pages? That's why you want a package, because it'll find everything you need and it'll pull it all into one nice little folder for you. So far, so good? Okay, so let's talk about a raw image. Do I have a raw image? Hold on one sec. Send a raw image to my computer. Here we go. Make Clownberg. And I'm going to drop it on my computer. Come on. There we go. AirDrop. Okay. And downloads. Where'd it go? There we go. And should be in here. Oh, there it is. I saw it. Okay. Image. And again, look at the name of the image, IMG _ 35828, whatever, HEIC. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that raw image, which ultimately will show up in my fonts. I'm gonna fake it like it was one of the folders that's in the links folder, okay? And so here it is, this is a raw image, and I'm gonna open that up in Photoshop. And so I'm gonna control click and open with Photoshop. And you're gonna have to do this to all 8 of your photographs, okay? Okay, so here is the photograph, and if I go to image and mode, I see it's in RGB. And if you've taken my color set, you should know that RGB is only for screen, it is not for print. For print, we need it to be in C, M, Y, and K, okay? So we're gonna change that, but before I do that, I also want you to see image size. And the image size of this is 42 inches by 56 inches. This is huge. And let's say this is the detail that I want, or something like that. 72 dpi is the resolution that it always comes in. Always at 72 dpi, but big. 72 dpi is great for only screen, internet, anything like that, but never for print, okay? So when you have a photograph that is this big at 72 dpi, the standard for printing has got to be 300 dpi. So we have to change, we can't, now pay attention to this, is really important. You cannot just select this number and change it to 300. You can't do that. It will not work. It will work, but you're gonna mess yourself up, okay? Do you see how these two height and width are linked together? You have to make sure that the three height, width, and resolution, if I click off of resample, that the three are connected now. So if I change one, it affects all of them together, okay? So now that 1, 2, and 3 have been highlighted together, selected together, now I'm going to change it. And if we were printing with an actual, printer in Hong Kong, 300 dpi is the lowest resolution that this should be. But because you're going to be printing at Ricoh, I'm going to allow you to do 200 dpi because you're not going to a commercial printer, okay? Nonetheless, we want to increase the dpi. Now, I want you to see what happens when I change this number to 72 dpi. And again, please remember the size of this is 42 by 56. I'm going to change it to 200 and look at the size now. The size has changed to 14 by 19 inches. So when you increase the dpi, the size of the image goes down. Got it? You look blank. I see.
When you increase the resolution, the size goes down?
Yes, the physical size, that's what happened. Remember, it went from 56, 46 to, now look at it. Because when you increase the resolution of this, the size is going to go down.
It looked like it got bigger.
This got bigger, but this got smaller.
Oh.
Let me undo it. Let me redo it.
I must not have seen the.
Hold up, and I put
You wanna get time to see
209.
decimals?
Oh, those are decimals. It looked like it was in the
Yes.
thousands.
Don't worry.
No, I couldn't see the decimals.
I had-
Okay, again, look, 42 inches by 56
Yes.
inches, 72 dpi.
Yes.
Click on resample, change it to 200. And now it's 15 inches approximately by 20 inches.
Okay.
Now does that make sense? Tell it okay. And there, it didn't look like it did anything, but it did, okay? It got a higher resolution and a smaller size, okay? So far so good? Yes?
So you went on 200 instead of 300?
Yes. And then we're gonna go back over here and we're going to go to mode, and I want you to pay really close attention to this. Look at the color palette and then look what happens when I change the color mode to RGB to CMYK. Let's see if it does a difference here. Yep, tell it okay. Look at it, look at it. It didn't do it. So obvious here, but I had a design studio student. Let me tell you what because they had to prepare art for print, I had a student who did that and noticed, and this is what you will notice, is that when you convert it from RGB to CMYK, it's going to get duller. The colors are going to get duller and it's going to look a little muddier. Can anybody tell me why? Yes.
You cannot replicate the colors on screens.
I'm gonna cry. I am so proud of you for saying it because you actually listened. But RGB colors are from light. They're the brightest, the cleanest, the most saturated. Printing in CMYK is not light colors, so it's going to darken and deepen the color hues and saturation level. So don't be alarmed, okay? Now what I'm going to do, please don't hit your save button. Don't, because you're gonna override this. Now what I'm gonna do is just save as, and I'm going to get it out of that name and call it page, 4, let's see, industrial, whatever, USTR, and save it in that links folder, and save it as a TIFF or a JPEG. Either one is fine. Save it, and now go back to your document and re-import it. Got it? So you should not, your file, your 8-page file should not have these cockamamie names. They should be saved in CMYK at a higher resolution with a new name pertaining to the page or whatever it's referenced to. Is that clear? So now you have 2 versions of this one photograph in the same folder. And so, here's that weird name that we had. We did a save as, and now we have, whatever I called it, .jpeg or TIFF, which is in CMYK, which is the proper format for importing everything, getting ready to print it. Clear? Questions? Okay, so in addition to your designing page 8, your final page, I want you to reformat all of your photographs. I want you to save them in that folder. And now we have, 8 photos of raw photography. Now we're gonna have copies of those 8 photos and the formatted photography. What could we do to get rid of the mess?
Subfolders.
Sorry?
Subfolders.
Give me any other thing. What else can we do? Use your logic. So I've got, this new package folder, and it's got, links now. It has a set of 8 files. It has 16 photographs, but I only need 8 of the photographs, the newly reformatted stuff, right? Package it again.
To relink the photos in the InDesign file.
So it'll leave the old photos behind and create a new folder with a new InDesign file, a new links folder with all of the new formatted artwork. Got it? And so again, you're archiving your work. So if something goes wrong with this newly saved file, it gets corrupt, it gets lost, it's a mess, you can always go back to the original and work from that and save it again. Clear? Clear? Any questions? Yes.
So how would you go about the process of repackaging the new image?
Just go to repackage. You don't repackage the image, you repackage the file. So if I go back to my InDesign null book, open recent, that's Photoshop. I'm going to go to InDesign. Now, if I go here and I made all sorts of changes and I replaced all of the raw photography with formatted photography, I would do another package from the most current file, and it'll save all of that stuff all over again. It'll create a new folder, and this time I would call it Book B. And if I did it again, Book C, Book E. I'm in all of the work that I do, I use Alphabet because typically it doesn't go to the printer until I'm usually at least at, version L or M. Okay? So you have to get used to being able to make different generations of your work. Just in case something goes wrong, you can always go back. You don't want to keep overwriting master work, okay? Just out of curiosity, and this is why you're in class, but has anybody been overwriting your master files so far? No? Have you been doing the generational thing? Okay. If you haven't been and you've been overwriting the files, stop doing that. It's bad business practice. It's really bad, because I guarantee you at some point somebody's going to go, I like, and this is happening with Design Studio, where I'm going, I really like what you had before, bring it up, and I'm like, oh, I don't have it, and I got rid of it, I wrote over it, it's like, damn it, this is now costing me money. I need you to be able to save these and archive these, and I don't care how much drive time or how much space it takes up on your thumb drive or on your computer. You always prioritize by saving multiple versions of your file. You can get rid of them after the file gets printed. But here's what's interesting. Notice with the notebook Q, that's how many iterations we went through. And the amount of paper we produced for proofing it was this high. It was a lot. So there wasn't a design, in 2 weeks, and here it is, it's done, and we're going to the printer. It took months and months and months, almost a year, to produce this book, to make it, round it off to the different editors, to the artists. It is a process, and as a designer, you have to understand that process. So when somebody from way back there goes, bring back that image, and you go, I know where it is, it's in my raw files, let me go through it, here it is, let me bring it in, let me format it, let me replace it, let me make sure that everything is up to date. Okay? Clear? It's a lot of work. Okay? Oddly enough, the only way you're going to get a bad grade with this is if you don't pay attention to the details, which is why this book is called Details. Not only are you looking at details in photography, you're looking at details of space in relationship of typography to photography. Now you have to pay attention to the structural details, the process. Here's a detail, a red caution flag that says fonts used, 3 are missing. That's an issue, but I know what the problem is, as I explained to you. So I'm paying attention to the details. There's also another thing here that I want you to pay attention to. This is a small detail in InDesign. It'll tell you how many errors you have. And if you ignore that detail, that's the first thing I'm going to see, okay? So pay attention to the details. Okay? What I'm teaching you today is not something like coloring tech where it comes out of my head and it's creative. This is industry standard. This is the stuff you have to know if you're going to go intern for a print shop, for a place that's going to produce graphics that are going to be printed. And if you don't follow this protocol, you will not have a job for very long, especially if you're importing. And I got to share with you, I'm warning you, and this happened in my senior capstone design studio class, where last week I had students produce files for printing, and the majority of them were importing PDF files, right? And it was so incredibly scary and ridiculous. It's like, yeah, InDesign will let you import anything. It'll let you import a native Photoshop file, a PNG file, a PDF file, an SVG file. Just because it lets you do that doesn't mean it's right. The rule is you cannot go to print unless that file is formatted in CMYK and saved as a JPEG or a TIFF, okay? Before, the law was, or the rule was, it could only be a TIFF, but for some reason, JPEGs got introduced into the fold, and now we could save it as that. But that became the industry standard, so there are very strict rules on how to follow a protocol, okay? A production protocol. What else? Any other questions? Are you clear with what you have to do? Okay, so, keep in mind that your book layout has to also have bleeds too. So you can't just do your trim. Remember that. You've been working with bleeds, right? Every page from 1 to 8 is a bleed. So you have to have bleed lines established, and your photos have to go to the bleed lines. So I'm going to start looking at your production quality. Okay? Good. Anything else? Okay. I need all of this done by Tuesday. I'm not going to ask you to turn it in yet. On Tuesday, I'm going to ask, did anybody have any problems? Do you have any questions? And I have to assume, I am going to assume that you did the project then, and you either got it right or you got it done, so you're going to come to Ed and you're going to ask him, this is my problem, this is what happened, what should I do? We will fix it. But if you didn't do the project and you don't bring up any issues because you hadn't done it yet, not my problem, because I'm just going to continue to move even faster. Okay? Good? Any questions? Is there anything else you need to see? Sir?
So maybe it's just something I'm overlooking, but whenever you do convert the files over to being CMYK, does it just change the original files that were in the document into those new CMYK?
Unless you do a save as and save it as a whole new document. That's important. You save it as a whole new document. Do not do just a save and write over the original.
I
Yes.
understand what he's saying. Will it automatically convert that new file to what's in the master InDesign? How
No,
do
you have to re-import it.
Okay, so do you just go to the links panel in InDesign and relink it to the new one that you saved?
It's actually a lot easier than that. You can,
I think that's what he's asking.
but let's say we're gonna replace this with my bird.
Yes.
Command D, select the image, Command D, and details a folder, go into the links folder. Where's the beacon? Here's that raw file. Oh, and I'm gonna show something else. Look at that. I want to show something else to you. This is why you want to do it. Look at the size of the original 1.5 megabytes. When I converted it, 50 megabytes. It just tripled however 1,000%. Got it? In size. Which is why you didn't want to do this with all of your photographs, because you really would be. But now you're going, in every file size, it's going to be around that big now. Which means your file size in terms of the data is going to be huge, which we're going to deal with later, okay? So if I find the image that I want, bring it in, there's my detail, and push it where I need it to be. Oops. And let's say that's it. And it's it. And look at, I've got it up to the bleed line. Here's the bleed line, bleed mark, and we're good to go. So it's that easy. Just re-import it. And if I go to my links folder, links, it will tell me, if I click on the image, it'll tell me, and this is, we'll get into this later, but it will tell me what is the file format. Oh, look, it's in CMYK. Good. Oh, good, it's the TIFF. Oh, good, the DPI or PVI is 200. It's good to go. Got it? Okay? Yes.
For the covers, when we export that to import it into Photoshop, do we export it as a high-res? Like, how do you want us to export the front and the back cover to convert it?
Same as the interior photos. Okay. Is a CMYK, TIFF, or JPEG.
Okay.
Because your type is going to go on top of that.
Okay.
You'll see. When you guys get used to doing this, it'll make sense. Right now I'm throwing a lot of stuff at you and it may be like, go through the process. You'll have more specific questions that you'll be able to articulate a lot better. Okay. And if you have a question, put it on Facebook. And if it's something that I didn't cover, need to cover, or need to address to help you get forward, moving, then I'll be more than happy to respond, okay? Anything else? Okay, you okay to be left alone with your homework? You scared? Little? No, you're not? You Should be. You'll be crying. You'll be crying. Okay, guys, thank you. Have a good weekend.